Welcome to Freed on Business. He grew up in South Florida, has been in business here since the early 90s, and has closed over $3 billion in deals. He's seen it all. He always has an opinion, and he's always ready to share it. Informed, entertaining, and connected, he has his finger on the pulse of South Florida's business community. He's Jim Freed, and this is Freed on Business.
All right, welcome to another great edition of Freed on Business. This one will be on the real estate capital markets, the state of the real estate capital markets, episode 780. Yesterday, I went to the BizNow Capital Markets event, learned some new things, got some other ideas that I had reinforced. It was a great event. Thanks to the guys at BizNow, the folks at BizNow, for inviting me to their event and allowing me to attend. I really enjoyed it. High five to Jordan for that. So I'm always thanking our friends at Warren Henry. Always the best service, always the best price. Warren Henry. They are also a great example of what we're going to talk about today, because the things that are happening in the real estate capital markets, some of the ways that we address that are also the way that Warren Henry does their business. You'll see that there's a great parallel that we'll be able to draw later on in the show after I've gone through the topics. Hey to Larry, Eric, Ismet, and the rest of the team at Warren Henry. I'll be seeing them this Saturday when I bring my car in for service. All right, and now, off to the races with the show. So we're talking today about real estate capital markets. Now, the real estate capital market situation today is well, we all know it's not really that liquid. There's a lot of changes in place. The fast increase in interest rates, and that really whipsawed everybody in the marketplace. People are having a difficult time understanding what values are, because those are driven by those interest rates. They don't know when they're coming down, if they're coming down, how they're coming down, where they're coming down, and where they're coming down to. So it's still hard to peg value. When you can't peg value, it's really tough to do real estate deals. So every real estate slowdown is different. Is this the Russian debt crisis? No. Is this the savings and loan crisis? No. Is this the Lehman Brothers crisis? No. Will the strategies that were in place during those crises be good execution strategies for this crisis? How do I know? Nobody does. Nobody even knows what's going to happen with interest rates or anything else. All we know is that a lot of the banks are asking for corresponding deposits when they put out their requests, and that's so that they can increase their tier one capital to insulate themselves against real estate valuation write-downs. But the banks are coming back into the market. Everything from the real big money center banks that I work with, to the community banks, to the credit unions. That's right, credit unions. That's not your big takeaway, but that's one of them. The credit unions are now back in the market, and they're providing a very nice source of capital. I thought it was just me, and then some of the speakers started talking about the credit unions that they were working at. So I think that that's something to do, to check into. If you're looking for capital, check out the credit unions. If it's not that big and it's pretty easy to understand, that may be the way to go. And some of them can do something really, really complex. Now, what can be financed? Depends. Depends on who you call, where you ask, who the sponsor is. I saw a great transaction optically from the OM. High five to the people that put together the OM. It looked tremendous. 65 pages of information to convince me. And on the get-go, they had no chance. No chance to convince me. Why? It was a cutting-edge concept in the hospitality industry. The high net worth investors that were backing it had virtually no experience in the sector. While they had made a lot of money, in some cases, you could argue that their resume would have been profitable if they simply had bought the property, stood in front of a bank, and then just did the deal again in 3 months. So it's very difficult to find the easy to finance deals. Did I say easy to finance? Well, that's still an oxymoron. That said, you can get multiple offers on transactions. I'm doing it right now for self-storage transaction. I got money center bank, community bank, and credit unions to quote on it. I'm still waiting for the C-PACE financing to come in. That quote from one of my big C-PACE financing folks. And then there's one other lender that I'm waiting for. How would I characterize them? I would characterize them as a debt fund that gets very creative, high leverage, that specializes in the space. Maybe we'll talk about one day, Mr. Mendoza, write it down. We'll talk about family offices and how to finance with family offices. I think that's a really good strategy, because when you're dealing with a family office, you're not dealing with a high net worth investor or a corporation. It's a completely different flavor. So what can be financed? It all depends. It depends on your financing source, what their geographic target rate is, how much are the interest rates. So that's all over the board. Today I was on a phone call. It was a hospitality refinance on a debt-to-debt finance that was $400 or $500 over. My client said that sounded expensive. The lender said it sounded cheap. What else is new? What's my job? To stand in the middle and say, hey, let's just make a deal. What's the real position point? What do you need for me to bring back? Retail. Cutest person on the block all of a sudden. Retail. I have clients that are heavy in multifamily, and then they have a little bit of a retail presence, and the banks are calling them not for their multifamily, but for their retail. Why? Because most of the retail today is single tenant net leased. And so a single tenant net leased, well, it's an issue with the credit, with the interest rates. So maybe it's not a 1031 execution. It is still great. You still can evaluate the credit, the borrower, the location. It's an easy thing to underwrite. Does it still require capital? Yes, unless you want to call me and deal with my pref equity guys. People go, well, I don't want pref equity. They have an unlimited yield. Not true. Call me. I have pref equity that'll cap their yield. That's right. You think you got a screamer? Call me. I've got great pref equity for you. Let's see. How should you go about presenting your deal? How about the numbers should tie out? I recently got a submission from a very high quality sponsor, or so I thought. First, they sent me the teaser. Great. I used the teaser to do my initial write-up. Then they sent me their detailed write-up. When I went to do the detailed write-up and tie it out to the teaser, guess what? The numbers didn't match. This is where I give a highly technical comment. Can I go WTF on my, it's my podcast. Hashtag WTF with that. And then they summed up all their numbers, put it in one line item. And when I asked for the detail, you can already guess the answer. Those 9 numbers didn't tie out either. And when you're trying to do a loan in the put your best foot forward circumstances, even when the market's hot, let alone when very few lenders are in the marketplace, you got to at least do that. So there's a big lesson there. Make sure that even if you think you know what's going on, have somebody independent take a look at your work. I do it all the time. Here's Mr. Jim McCarthy for always backing up my ideas and my numbers and checking me out. Jim Mack, he's been on a lot of these capital markets calls with me. Today it's just going to be me, but I'm always backed up. I don't even think that's in my ideas, but make sure you're backed up with somebody that can be there, especially if it's the summertime and somebody has questions. Those questions need to be answered. And me, I always say, I don't know anything. Talk to the other Jim. He's smart. That was my index finger, by the way. Talk to the other Jim. He's smart. Me, I just know how to get you on the phone. All right, well, that's a quick hitter on how to get your deal financed right now. Now, stick with me around the break, and what you're going to see is how do you get your deal financed and what makes the lender different and what you should be looking for. Mr. Mendoza, take it away. Mr. Mendoza, you caught me again. How did you know that every time I fly a regional aircraft, I look at the deals that I do? I could literally fly across the state and from those airplanes, point out the transactions that I've done. Thank you for making me feel so good, Mr. Mendoza. Also, the friends at Warren Henry make me feel good. Every week we work to create a tie-in between what our topic is and Warren Henry. And today we've been talking about how to get your deal right. And in the final last word, we're going to talk a little bit about what you should look for when you're looking for a lender, but that's already at Warren Henry. You've got great people. You've got great products. You've got a variety of products. You've got people that follow up once you've bought your product. They help you feel tremendous about your process and your result. I'll be there this weekend, seeing all my friends and get my car serviced. I can't wait to see everybody, and everybody I know knows that I'll be abusing the coffee machine there. So reach out to my friends at Warren Henry, Land Rover, Range Rover, Infiniti, Jaguar, Lincoln, that's at 151st and Biscayne, Gainesville. They've got Audi, all the great cars and the keys. Land Rover, Range Rover rent store in South Dade is award-winning. West Dade is new, but probably will be winning great awards. So become part of the Warren Henry family. Join me, join my wife, join my clients, join us all. And remember, Warren Henry, when you're done, you'll feel good that you made your deal at Warren Henry. Always the best price, always the best service, always Warren Henry. And now, the last word. Man, you watch those videos, and how can you not want to live in South Florida? Hold on, let me take that back. You all do want to live in South Florida. It's what's driving our economy. So let's get to the last word, okay? How do you select the right lender? And in today's world, most of those lenders are debt funds. And guess what? Oh, you already know I have my own debt fund. So people go, Jim, what makes your debt fund different? So let's talk about that for a second. First of all, we're transparent. I had somebody make a submission today. Took me 15 hours. It was a tough emotional response that I had to give to my friend, the loan broker who I've known for 50 plus years. We went to grade school together. Love this person. And I had to say, I read through it. Interesting, but not for us. And the person didn't have the right amount of experience. I was transparent. Why did I get the call in the first place? Because I've had a long-term relationship with the person built on trust, love, and kindness. You go find that in a lender. Sorry, I got to take a break. Pat myself on the back for that one. When you call us, you get fast responses from industry vets. My partner, Jim, and I love that. We should really call it Jim and I Real Estate. Jim and I've had 35, 40 years. He's had 10 more. What is that, 80 or 90 years? I don't know, but it's a lot. Loan request, but I'll call him back. We have long-standing relationships with the people that we do business. And of course, whenever, obviously we're competitive. Everybody's got to be competitive or they won't call you back. And you always know that whenever you call me, I make sure it's always all about you. In some cases, I don't even take the loan. I direct people to places that are better or ask them if I can take them there myself. You already know what they say. Sure, Jim, we'd love it if you could help us out. Remember, I feel great every time I help somebody solve their problem. So call me, contact me. We'll help you get your loan done. And remember, I want to thank our sponsors, Warren Henry Automotive, the University of Florida Center for Real Estate Study, Bergstrom Center. I want to thank them for all the great interns they give me. Oh, I love those kids. They are all so much smarter than I am. I don't know if I could even make it through junior college at this point based on the kids that I'm meeting. My gosh, they're all going to go bang their way to Wall Street and take over the world. And so remember, as this episode has shown you, and all the others do too, the person wants to do something, finds a way. The other finds an excuse. Now go out there and make it happen. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. Mr. Mendoza, rest is yours.